It's about personal growth because each day I want to be better. And that's kind of the focus of my journey, though it gets lost in the food and the soulmate. Like, it looks like I just want to impress a million women with my cooking and be like, come find me. That's not my speed. It's like, I'm trying to motivate people who don't necessarily put that energy in every day to do that. And my why is because I'm in love with a person I've never met before.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Cheney, and this is the Dear Food Podcast. I love food. I love eating food, cooking food, talking about food, and I actually really think it's one of the best ways to get to know each other as humans. So that's exactly what this show does. We talk with people from all different walks of life, but the main through line is that we're always talking about food. This show is meant to fill your bellies and your hearts with all kinds of really interesting stories about people told through food. So let's dig in. Okay, hi everyone. I normally start the episode off with this sort of long intro before the guest comes on, but today's guest is so special that I want to let him go ahead and introduce himself because his story is amazing, and I just want to jump right in. So everybody, without further ado, I'm very excited to invite Mr. Buddy Stringer on today's show from Bites with Buddy. Buddy, hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. This is a blessing. This is awesome. Thank you.
Well, you look like ready to rock and roll. You've got this whole awesome clawfish, as you described to me, like
Yeah.
Perfectly set up, ready to do exactly what we're doing. And so for people who are just learning about you, though I know that we have some dedicated TikTok fans already listening to this episode, but for the people that haven't seen you, your work on TikTok or Instagram, can you just kind of explain the journey that you have set out on TikTok or across all of your platforms?
I will do my best. So I am using food right now. I'm a content creator on TikTok. It started on TikTok. Everything's kind of blown up since TikTok. But I started cooking. I've always been passionate about food and the way that food can bring people together. And so I've started this series where I'm cooking until I find my soulmate. Kind of this choosing to be a better man and practicing skills that'll make me in any way I can be better. And that starts with cooking because that's a passion of mine, but it ventures into fitness, it ventures into life, it ventures into everything. And that's kind of my journey because that's my why. That's my soulmate is my why.
I'm so excited. I can't even there's so many pieces of your response I want to pick apart, but what made you think that food is the way that is the path to your soulmate?
Food's kind of always been my path. I mean, I've been passionate about food since probably I was 10, and I fantasized about the way that food can hold a family together, or that time that you spend at a table, and I just romanticized that. But I've also just been a diehard romantic most of my life, and so it just felt so natural to combine the two. I stumbled upon it on accident. I started my early content just doing trends and doing ridiculous things like everyone does. And then I ran out of ideas. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what my niche is. I don't know. And my glorious sister-in-law, love her to death, was like, what are you doing right now? And I was like, I'm cooking breakfast. She's like, why? And I was like, because I hate cooking breakfast. And I know it's going to make me better to wake up and start that behavior. And she's like, okay, why do you want to be better? And I was like, because I want to find somebody that I can share that with. She's like, do that. And I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. She's like, just do it, see what happens. And the rest has been history. The rest just took off.
Oh my God. Okay, well, we have to get your sister-in-law on the show too then, because she definitely guided you towards a complete and total gold mine. I mean, there is so much to unpack here. What a beautiful, I too romanticize food. It's the reason I have a podcast dedicated to food. I think it brings people together in all forms of relationships. And I'm so, I love the approach that you're taking to finding love through this thing that you love, which, makes you a better whole person. Wow. Well, okay, before I dig too much deeper into the content that you're creating, because I do want to talk about, in addition to some of the beautiful video work that you do, the recipes that you make look amazing. So we can't wait to dive into that. But before we do, we start every episode by asking what's called our first taste. So, Buddy, do you remember the first food you ever remember tasting?
I gave this question some thought. That's a tough one. I don't remember much before 11 years old.
Oh,
and
wow, that's late.
That's late. but especially food oriented. I remember watching people cook. Like I was obsessed with Bobby Flay and like a bunch of Food Network chefs when I was a kid, but I never really cooked. It was a lot of like boxed mac and cheese. My family doesn't cook
Oh,
like at
really?
all. It was like a lot of boxed mac and cheese and ramen and things of that nature. And that's kind of why I fantasize these bigger, grandiose meals and learning to cook. Um, so I remember one of my first memories of food was I was 11, and for my birthday, I asked for a grocery trip. That's what I wanted. I wanted to go to the store and I wanted to buy groceries.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so I attempted to make my family for my birthday, like a white wine salmon with roasted bell peppers, lemon, and a touch of dill. And I didn't like it,
Oh
but it
my
was that
God.
adventure in the kitchen. My family loved it. They're like, this is some of the best food we've had.
So
And
you
that
nailed
was,
it. You
I
nailed
nailed
it.
it. I'm
Oh
not a
my
big
God.
fan of salmon apparently, but I nailed it.
Wait. Hold on. Okay, hold on. First of all, so you're 11 years old. You have to give me a little bit of a picture of your family. So are you the only sibling? Are you
Middle child of four.
middle child of four? Where did you grow up? Like where in the world?
Washington. So Townwater, just like 15 miles south of Olympia.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so you grew up outside of Washington. Fun fact, or not outside of Washington, but in Washington. I was born in Vancouver. Do you know where that is?
Yes, I do. That's
Yeah.
just a few hours south. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I was born on a literal nut farm, and I feel like it like painted the picture of my life.
Makes perfect sense.
It does. It really does. But okay, so the middle child of four, your parents weren't big cooks, so you didn't see a lot of cooking influence. So literally, you get this hair, like, wild hair to cook this really fancy dinner. And I'm like, white wine. My parents would never let me anywhere near like anything like that in the kitchen. And then you just happened to nail it. Like you executed it well.
Well enough, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. Well, let's fast forward then to today because, as I've seen, I will link in the show notes below to some of my favorite of your creations in the kitchen. They're great both from a video content perspective. I love that TikTok like does that. It kind of forces people to make these really cool videos in 60 seconds or 15 seconds, and you do a great job of it. But were you classically trained? Like, or do you have any cooking training?
I have some. So I dropped out of high school a little early, just due to life stuff. My story is it's a crazy story. But my junior year in high school, I did a vocational school for like 2 months of culinary arts. And so I had mild training, but I couldn't remember most of it. And then I went to go get, after I had left high school, I had to go get my high school diploma because I dropped out like 3 months before I was supposed to graduate.
Oh,
And I was
man.
like, but I want to be better. I want to finish. I can't just not. So I went to a secondary vocational school for culinary arts and I spent about 6 months there, but they didn't teach you a whole lot. It was just kind of like, that's how you make a sauce. Good luck. And so I don't remember most of that either. I would say 90% of what I do in the kitchen is freehand. I freehand almost everything. Nothing's really classically trained. I've taught myself mostly everything.
Oh,
So
wow. Well, you make it look very like even your knife skills are to me totally convincing from what the untrained eye can
editing.
tell. The magic
Totally
of
editing.
editing. Well, let's jump in then to our food of the day. And normally we pick a meal, but I think for this episode it makes all the sense in the world to maybe talk about a food that you would love to make for the person that you are looking for. Do you know what that dish would be?
Yeah, I think so.
And
And
there's probably a couple, I bet.
there are a couple. And I would probably say it's my most popular video somehow. Because TikTok's so wild with its algorithms, it's hard to predict. But this one I was really connected to because I designed it from the ground up, and then it just took off. It's a puff pastry dish stuffed with ground sausage, spinach, cream cheese, onion, cheddar cheese, and it makes these perfect little like buns almost in these puff pastries. It's crispy, it's savory. I'm not a sweet breakfast person, so like something deliciously savory first thing in the morning. It's absolutely incredible. And I've got a whole video. I could go into detail on how to make it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, because so you're going to start the day off with, you know what, let's do it. We're going to do a whole day here.
Bring it.
But breakfast, savory breakfast, I love this. I was like trying to like actively listen to what you were saying, but also going like, oh my God, that sounds so good. Oh my God, that sounds so good. Oh my God, that sounds so good. So did you just like create this recipe? What should we call this recipe?
I asked TikTok to name the recipe, and I still haven't found one. There's a bunch of
Ooh.
jokes out there, so it still doesn't have a name. Maybe after this podcast, we'll have somebody who comes up with a delightful name for it. But it's. I mean, it's so simple. I
What about
mean,
like a
most
buddy
breakfast.
bite? A buddy bite. A buddy bun.
Buddy Bun. I like that. Buddy
Mm.
Bun. I like that.
Well, how do we make a buddy bun?
So essentially, it's just half a pound of ground Italian sausage, whichever is your favorite. You take half of a white onion, chopped. You mix in about 2 to 3 cups of finely chopped spinach. Then you've got 8 ounces of your favorite cream cheese. I prefer either Tillamook sharp cheddar or like Philadelphia chive and onion, something with some flavor.
Okay.
I just love flavored cream cheeses. It adds a real extra kick.
So we're sauteing the sausage and the onions and the spinach first. That's happening sauteed.
So you only saute and brown the sausage. Everything else is raw
Oh, okay.
until you bake it.
Okay, I'm with you now. Okay.
Okay, sorry. And then, so once you remove the sausage from the heat, you just mix everything else in a bowl.
Okay.
So, and then after the cream cheese, you just add half a cup of sharp cheddar cheese. And then you've got this mix that like holds itself together really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you cut 5 by 5 squares of puff pastry. So you
Okay.
can get pre-bought. I haven't made puff pastry from scratch before. It's
That seems
complicated.
excessive. Yeah,
Yeah,
seems excessive.
it's a bit much. I've watched a lot of videos on it, and I'm like, why would I do that? So just a 5 by 5 square, you put about 2 tablespoons of the mixture inside. You pinch all 4 corners up to the top, and you twist it so it holds its shape, and it becomes this beautiful little bun. Place it in the oven at whatever the puff pastry needs. Usually it's like 350 for like 12 to 15 minutes. And then I always crank it on broil for the last few minutes just to get some nice color.
Crisp.
But you got to keep a close eye. Like a lot of people walk away in the kitchen. I never leave the kitchen. Once I start, I'm there until it's finished. So I keep a close eye on it, get the color that I want, and then you just pull them out and they're done. It's that simple because the spinach you can eat raw, but it cooks just enough.
Mm-hmm.
The onion cook in the cream cheese and the fluids. It's perfect. It's got great texture. It's got good puffiness.
Yeah,
It's absolutely
a little bit of
delicious.
a balance of that creaminess to the, I guess maybe like the spice of the Italian sausage.
Yeah, and a little bit of the saltiness. It kind of cuts the saltiness off. Yeah.
Yum!
Nice.
Oh, I love this. What a great way to start the day.
Yeah.
Can we talk about what you're looking for in a partner? You knew I was going to go there.
So I get this question. I don't see. I have a very unique answer to that question because I don't set expectations for a relationship. Every person is different in a relationship than they are single. They're different from one relationship to the next. They're different depending on how they've grown, their influences. So it's hard for me to set an expectation for a person I've never met and never fallen in love with. I have zero expectations for who this person is, but I'm ready for them. I'm open to it. I'm 100% willing to give myself because I'm reaching a level where I am willing and wanting to just share myself. And it's not so much about who they are as much as, or what I expect from them even before I ever meet them. It's what we can do together and the beauty that brings.
Good God. I mean, spoken like poetry. Holy cow. Well, I mean, I have to ask the obvious question, which is like, again, as a single person watching your videos, and I'm like, I'm captivated by them because I think you're like TikTok's boyfriend. You're like a boyfriend to everybody that needs to open up their phone. I'm serious. Open up their phone and have somebody cook for them. And you do that. Like you are cooking breakfast and dinner and dessert for all these, women or who knows who you're attracting on TikTok.
That's true.
And I just think that's, I think it's really cool, but also like you might really be bringing a lot of comfort to somebody. So I bet that you've had a lot of people reaching out to you. And actually, I know that I have because I've seen it in the comments. So have you met anybody special or how's it going?
Not yet. I haven't been on a lot of dates since I started TikTok. I think only 2. It's also, TikTok's made it almost more difficult because it's hard to be on TikTok and get that level of attention and then try to be like, hey, would you like to be a part of this? Because this is I'm trying to build something. I'm trying to bring hope to people. I have life that's overflowing and I want to share it with people. Would you like to be a part of that? And a lot of people are scared by that. They're like, I
Really?
would like to be here and this is nice, but I don't want to share that. That's not. And so that's been both dates. I've gone on 2 dates in like the last 8 months, and they've both kind of gone that direction.
Yeah.
Um, but
And
that's okay.
just so I'm super clear, does that direction mean like maybe, for example, like appearing in one of your videos or documenting the date or that kind of sharing that level of that side of you?
Well, kind of. Hopefully, it becomes like a partnership, just like a
Mm-hmm.
relationship. So, hopefully, the brand and the channel grows from just me hunting and doing the daily grind and being willing to be emotionally available and emotionally open to these people, to them then seeing how that hope transpires into a relationship, then growing
Yeah.
that relationship. And then potentially, chapter two is like building a house or starting a family, or like this, the brand keeps going and it's all going to center around food,
Wow.
but the brand and the romance should keep going in that upward trajectory, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
I love, that's a really interesting way to put it because I can see how if somebody were listening, particularly like my friends back in Virginia might hear like, oh, the brand and think that's an interesting way to think of a relationship. But I totally know what you mean. And I
yeah,
actually see the value in what you're saying. It's like you've taken this many people along for the journey so far into your kitchen and into your heart and into your life. Like you, in a way, I feel like you must be feeling some sense of responsibility to show the full journey to those people that have come with you so far.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Plus, it brings so much hope. Just the cooking in and of itself brings people hope that not only that there are romantic men out there, intelligent men, like people who want to give, that level of hope shouldn't just stop because I got what I needed.
Yeah.
People still need that hope and they want that hope. And that's where I really find the fun and the love in the food is until I find her, it's spreading that hope to everyone else. Because you should never stop trying.
Okay, well, I'm not going to cry today. That's just not happening. Ugh, I'm like literally tearing. I love this so much. And okay, so we have to bring it back to food just for a minute here. But is it important to you at all that this soulmate? I know it's important that she be along with you for your journey, but is it important that she know how to cook or that she have this love? I'm assuming of food just as you do.
Um, no. So in my household, all the men cook. Like we all
Mm-hmm.
learned how to cook. A lot of fend for yourself nights. A lot of like good luck in the kitchen. Uh, so all the men know how to cook, and almost none of the ladies in our family know how to cook. And so it's
Interesting.
really not. It's like all the men love to get together in the kitchen and just spend hours just cooking or having competitions or being competitive. So it's not that important that she does, though it is important that she have goals and we bring those goals into our journey. Whatever those goals are, it doesn't have to be food, though that would be awesome if it was. Um, yeah, it doesn't have to be.
You're so open. You're literally like, surprise me. I don't
Yeah.
care who you are. So there's no hard and fast, like, like, I will accept anything but cannot be a smoker, or I will accept anything but must be a vegan. Nothing hard and fast rules.
I would say motivated, wildly motivated, is probably the only real thing I'm looking for because I work 10 hours a day. I have a regular job. And then I come home and I spend 2 hours, 2+ hours cooking and editing, and then go live for an hour. This has taken up, it takes up like 16 hours a day pretty
Wow.
consistently, um, producing content. And so I want somebody with that same level of drive, even though it doesn't have to be the same thing. Drive to push forward to make yourself better for tomorrow is a huge thing that motivates me. And so I want somebody who isn't just willing to be like, oh, you've got this. You've got this for us. I want us to both have this for us. So it's like I want to go step by step with each other, not so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would ask the question, but I have a feeling I know what you're going to say
Yeah.
because you're so open. But I'm like, does this person have to be in Washington? Can they be anywhere around the world to at least start the relationship?
They can be anywhere in the world. I'm definitely open to a long distance relationship for the right person, but I'm very naturally extroverted. And so I vibe with people in person. So it's almost as if I have to meet the person first.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there's distance, that's acceptable. But I
Yeah.
really have to like, I read people pretty well, I'd like to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I kind of have to get your feel. I have to to experience you first. And then absolutely I'm open to anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be in Washington.
Technology is cool though, because like I feel like I can thank God for things like Zoom, how we're recording this
Yeah.
this call, because I can see your face and I can see your facial expressions and stuff. So maybe Zoom will be a good intermediary until
Maybe.
you're ready to meet in person. Okay, back to the food. I promise. Sorry, but so we talked about a great breakfast that you would make, and thank you for sharing that recipe for. I'm gonna call them Buddy Buns maybe for now. Till you stick with the.
We'll go with it. I like it.
Is there like a day of eating that you would let's say you meet someone and you've connected on whatever social platform or email or whatever, and you're like, okay, this person seems cool, and let's even say that you're going to meet up in person. What does that day look like from a food perspective?
Ooh.
Are you cooking for them? Are you going out to a spot? I feel like you got to cook at least one meal for sure.
So date one, I'm not sure I would want to cook. Date one. Definitely going out date one. Probably something, and I'm obsessed with charcuterie boards. I love them so much.
Can we get on board and both call them shark coochie boards?
Yes. Yes. Somebody actually makes a shark-shaped charcuterie board, and it's delightful.
That's amazing. I love that. I'll put you guys, if they're not understanding the reference, I'm gonna post a link to a hilarious meme. Thank you, internet, for interneting. So good.
Yes.
Okay, so out for the first date, probably just so that like you don't feel the pressure. I'm assuming it's quite a bit of pressure to cook.
Well, but also cooking means I'm going to your place or you're going to mine, and that's a lot of pressure to put on a first date.
True.
That's a lot of energy. We're already here. We're at one of our homes, and now I'm spending an hour and a half paying attention to food, or you are, and it's good conversation while cooking, but that's a lot of pressure to put. Like what happens after the food, like with I mean 200, or I think I'm at 272,000 followers. If I were to say yes, everyone come over to my house and cook, that's a lot of pressure. Even if I accepted a date. So the first few dates hopefully are out. I would love charcuterie boards because it encourages conversation and like you can explore the food, different textures, different flavors. You get to know a person a little bit just based off their choices and their tastes. You can learn a lot just by watching how a person eats a charcuterie board. And I know that's weird.
You're talking to me here. You could learn a lot. I get it. I get it so much.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's telling to you about like a charcuterie board, for example?
I mean, there are sweeter cheeses like a goat cheese wrapped in honey or blueberry. You can see their affinity to go for sweets or their texture preferences when it comes to crackers, how much they like saltiness. Like you could probably custom make a meal after watching someone make or eat a charcuterie board, depending on their preferences. So yeah, I'm very much a slight spice with a lot of salt. I like prosciutto. I like ground mustard, things of that nature. Something really sharp, like a sharp cheddar. Those are the flavors that I kind of steer towards. But watching somebody else, they could go for blueberry goat cheese and a touch of honey with some almonds. And that tells you a lot. That tells you kind of what their first, and then once they explore the board and what they continue to return to, because you do that. It's just a beautiful adventure. So,
and just so that I'm super clear, so that like anybody who's dating you isn't afraid to make a selection of a charcuterie board, because it's like, oh God, what's he going to think about? You're just talking about, it says a lot about their food preferences. Or are you saying that like, okay, if this person chooses a spicy sausage, I know that they're
a little
spicy personality.
No, just their food preferences.
Okay.
And so I love cooking for people. It's a passion of mine. And so getting to know kind of what drives them towards food, what their affinity towards certain flavors are, and that really helps kind of when I do make that first meal, make it extra special.
So you're paying attention like early on for all those things. Wow.
I try to.
Can I tell you a little totally cheesy secret that I heard?
Please
Not
do.
a secret, but one of my first ever bosses, I worked in a restaurant for 5 years, a Chinese restaurant. They are like my family still to this day. And I wish that everybody like had to work in the service industry just to be a citizen of life, just to like
Agreed.
get it, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah. And just amazing stories from the restaurant. But in the Chinese restaurant, at the end of the night, they do like family meals. So all the employees get together around the table and they'll serve like whatever the cooks feel like cooking, and that's like how the employees get fed or whatever.
Yeah.
It's awesome because you get the best stuff. But the One of the first meals I ever sat down to, this little girl from Virginia out in California for the first time, not knowing how to use chopsticks or how to do anything, basically. And we sit around the table, and the owner, the boss, Eric, was kind of checking out what I was eating from the family style dinner.
Yeah.
And I was like picking the most basic thing, of course, on the table. And he's like, I'm not going to do a terrible Chinese accent, but he was like, you don't like spicy food? And I'm like, oh no, I don't really, I'm not a big spice person. Cause I grew up in a family that like didn't eat, my dad couldn't eat spicy food because of whatever, heartburn or something. So I just didn't have, exposure to spicy foods. And he's like, well, they say if you eat spicy food, you're better in bed. And I was like, what? I've changed my palate. I'll say
Nice.
I've started incorporating spicy foods into my.
I don't like spicy food, so what's that say? Sorry, ladies.
I don't know. Who knows if there's truth to it? I mean, I would,
No.
without getting too crazy into it. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, so now I'm always like, that was something that I used to judge when I was on dates, and it really has no. I think it probably has no bearing, but it was enough to mess me up good for a couple of years. So.
Very nice.
Okay, so date one, we're getting a nice charcuterie board, maybe some drinks, not during Sober October, but maybe some drinks and getting to know the person. What's either a continuation of date one or a date two look like?
It depends. It wildly depends. I think the last date I went from a nice charcuterie board, nice dinner, to skinny dipping in a lake and letting off illegal fireworks.
Okay,
but it could be
Washington.
that. Yeah, it could be that. It could be walking on the beach. I just enjoy conversation, deep intellectual conversations about passions. I do a lot of studying of the sciences just in my free time, So
in your free time after a 16-hour day of making content?
Yeah, I'll usually watch particle physics for an hour before bed. Yeah, I just find it fascinating. But yeah, finding what their interests are, just hopefully the continuation of the date, if it's going well, is just good conversation. You don't want it to end. And I love a good, nice, fine cocktail. So maybe at a bar. I'm a big fan of Mezcal Old Fashions or a standard Old Fashioned, something nice.
Mezcal Old Fashions. Wait a second. Can you talk me through this? I mean, I know it's not necessarily your thing to do drinks, but I love Old Fashions and I love Mezcal. So it's just an Old Fashioned instead of whiskey, you use Mezcal?
Yeah.
Really?
It's smoky. It's a little punchy. It'll punch you in the chest just a bit, but it's delightful. It's absolutely, if you like smoky flavors.
Yeah, I do. I'm so curious too, because I've been on summer makes it mezcalrita or margarita. That's what I want. It's refreshing and cool. And I love Old Fashioned is my go-to. That's my go-to drink.
Same.
So now I have a new
Definitely
project.
try it.
Thanks, buddy.
Definitely try it.
And I'm literally looking at my little bar sitting right next to me going, yep, I have the mezcal.
Nice.
Yep, I have the bitters. Yep, I have the Luxardo cherries. Great. So let's say date one goes really well, and we're on to whatever date it is that you think you're ready to go ahead and cook for this person. What are you making?
Hopefully we're making.
Oh, okay. Okay. But wait, hold on. What if the person that you end up really, really liking is a garbage cook?
That's why I'm there.
Okay.
That's an adventure. That's so much more fun. If they're really, really good cooks, or if they're a really, really good cook, that's fantastic. We can work really well in the kitchen. I've worked in a couple kitchens, and the vibe would be there. But if somebody's really bad at cooking, that's so entertaining. You're there, you're helping every bit of the way. That's just so much more fun. Why that's not gonna, hopefully that doesn't stop them or scare them away. Because it's not like we're gonna burn water. It's pretty straightforward.
I've seen some people that could take you around the block.
I don't understand. I don't think I've ever really ruined anything except for a lemon meringue pie when I was 12 years old. That was a travesty. Somebody unscrewed the cap to the salt, and I didn't put in a pinch. I put in half a container and then fed it to my family.
Oh, that is a drag. But you're making lemon meringue at 12 years old. I mean, I think you get a pass. I think you get a pass.
Hopefully. Yeah.
I had a similar experience with deviled eggs last year. So,
Nice.
It's forgivable as a 12-year-old, not so much as a 34-year-old.
Thank you.
Okay, so hopefully you're making something together. And is this what do you think that looks like? Is that a particular dish? Does it matter what it is, or is it just about the time in the kitchen together?
I think it's more about the time in the kitchen, and I'd probably go for something difficult. Something intuitively difficult. I love making pasta dishes, so it would probably be pasta, but add difficulty by making handmade pasta noodles.
Yeah. So this is basically a test for this. Sorry, ladies, you are getting tested. That's what's happening.
And it could be a complete failure, but that would be beautiful as well. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to come out good. It doesn't have to come out great, but just, I don't know, the idea of a date where there's flour all over the kitchen, no one cares, there's cocktails, you're enjoying yourself, you're laughing, there's good music, good conversation. Like that to me is beautiful. If like we're working really, really well together and we make a perfect dish, that's beautiful. But like the chaos of it sometimes, like that's so much fun.
I think my mind went right to the picture that you painted when you're like, oh, we're making pasta. I'm like, oh, I'm seeing the like flour on the face,
Yeah.
and there's a kiss with like flour in the hair and flour on your hands, and then the next thing you know, you're on the I've got the whole scene painted out. We're writing the same rom-com here.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, that's great. What a fun adventure. If you had a moment to say something to a prospective date or prospective soulmate, is there anything that you want to say that you haven't been able to say through your videos or that you want to say?
I'm here and I'm waiting. Uh,
You can't get any more clear than that. Like that's perfect. I get it. Yeah, just come
yeah.
on already. Oh, well, I'm excited. Now, I think you have a son, no?
Yeah, yeah. I have a 5-year-old. Yeah,
5-year-old. What's his name?
Braylon.
Braylon. Does Braylon get a say in who you bring home, or what's his influence on the dating front?
So a lot of what I'm doing is actually to show him that what it looks like to have a man be a compassionate lover and to be emotionally intelligent and how to pick, or at least how to give your all in all of these situations and show him what real love looks like.
Hmm.
Um, and that's a big motivation for me. But that being said, I also don't want him to meet her for the sake of his security for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
That's my rule. 6 months, like once things start to go over that first little hill, then maybe we can talk about bringing him into it. But like he's my first soulmate, first and foremost. Love him to death. He is my everything. And so I've got to protect him first. And I can handle any pain that comes pre 6 months. I've got this. Any dips or raises in a relationship or relationships as I try to find her. But until things are kind of a little more solidified, I keep him protected. He's too good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Does he influence, what you actually I know he does. I saw a video the
Yeah,
other day
yeah,
where
he
you
does.
like let him decide what to cook. What's it
Yeah.
like with having him in the kitchen? What does he do in there?
He loves cooking. But almost more than that, he loves giving me ingredients that he thinks will throw me for a loop. And I've made 2 videos based on it. He'll just give me like 3 or 4 ingredients and be like, good luck. And I'm like, you want me to mix noodles, chicken, and seaweed and come up with a dish? It's like,
sounds good.
yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then he loves it. He loves the adventure. He'll help with the cooking. He loves that kind of spontaneity, and we'll go shopping together, push him around in the shopping cart as he's like, no, Dad, not corn on the cob. No, Dad, not broccoli, that broccoli. And it's a fun adventure either way. So it's really, those are bonding moments for him and I want him to learn how to cook.
Yeah, it's like the kid version of Chopped. He's like,
exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. I love this journey so much. What
Thank you.
I know that there's some chapters up ahead for you, like that you talked about, whether that's chapter 2 or the whole book or whatever. What's next for you, Buddy, as a content producer, as a soulmate out there? Kind of what's up ahead for you? What can we look out for?
That's a great question. Next, I'm working on a cookbook.
Oh, you are?
I'm
Yay!
trying. I'm just starting to work on a cookbook. Me and a friend are trying to piece things together, pick the most popular recipes, ones that I prefer versus the ones that TikTok fell in love with, and kind of piece those together, produce a cookbook. That's hopefully next on the docket. And then I'd like to be able to step down at work and just do content, just spreading love full time eventually. So I'm really trying to go for that. And the rest hopefully will come with my soulmate. So.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's so exciting. Well, I can't wait to see the cookbook and to be, I'm in for the journey. So, you've got me and the other 200 and 300,000 people that are following along. So it's such a joy to see. And thank you for doing it. It is, I look to your videos for comfort. I always want to see what food you're making. And I also think it's like, what a nice thing to have this person who's just a nice, calm companion in the kitchen for so many people who need it. And I think that's a wonderful thing to offer the world. So definitely keep going. Okay, well, we're going to wrap out today with our dream dinner question. And I love asking chefs this question, but if you could have anything, any dish for dinner tonight from anywhere in the world, from any time in history, with any person in the world, living or dead, what would you have for your dream dinner tonight?
I would typically say charcuterie, but since we already talked about it, I'm going to go out of left field because a lot of food that I cook is intentionally meant to get me out of my comfort zone.
Okay.
Like I go out of my way to try to make things that I typically don't like and I want to explore. And there's one thing I have a deep resistance against, and I would love to experience that probably with Neil deGrasse Tyson, just because I love science. I love that man. I don't know why. I would love to sit down and just have oysters. I've never had oysters. I hate them. I don't even know why. I've never had them, but I'm hyper hesitant against them. But just like a nice, beautiful oyster bar, great conversation with like Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the smartest people I can think of. I would love to just sit down and explore that. If I'm not having charcuterie with my soulmate, if I could pick anything in the world, of course
you're going to pick Neil deGrasse Tyson. Screw the soulmate. I want Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, that's so funny. I'm pretty sure he does eat oysters, and my mouth is ajar because Washington has some of the best oysters.
That's
like of all, yeah, they're so good. You've got it. And as someone who's on a quest to find their soulmate, they're a major alleged aphrodisiac. You've got to get in there. My favorite way to eat the oysters, just for when you do it, when you do get in there, choose the smallest oyster that you can. Okay. So like a kushi or a kamimoto, something nice and small, because sometimes texture can be a little bit of a thing. Mm-hmm. Some vinegar, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of chili oil, and get out, look out, say goodnight. You're done. It's so good. It's the best. Okay.
I will remember that.
And you, of course, have to document it for all of us who want to see this. And definitely if you get to meet up with Neil deGrasse Tyson for it.
That would be delightful. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I'll have my people call his people, see if we can hook it up. Neil?
I appreciate you.
Awesome. Well, Buddy, thank you so much. Can you let everybody know where they can find you across social media?
Absolutely. I am Bites with Buddy everywhere. That's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, pretty much every platform. If you search my name, I'm there. Bites with Buddy everywhere.
Well, thank you so much. It's definitely content worth watching. Thank you for being here, Buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, that's our very first dating episode here on the show, and I hope you had as much fun as I did. I think Buddy is such an interesting guy. Maybe you were listening to this and thinking, hey, I want to date Buddy. Well, you have his social media handles and you can reach out to him directly, or if you want a little assist, you can always reach out to me and the podcast can help you connect as well. So of course, feel free to send your messages to Buddy or just a general message to the show at our email address, dearfoodpodcast@gmail.com. I love hearing your stories more than anything else in the world, and gee, it would be all kinds of fun to make a love connection right here on the podcast. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Don't forget, please, please, please subscribe to this show on Apple Podcasts and share it with a person who loves food as much as you do. Have a great week.